Welcome to Miller's Monsters as we continue to look at Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities 8-episode season playing on Netflix now. As always, there's spoilers ahead. Hit that like, subscribe button, ring that bell. First up today is episode 3, which I think is the best episode so far, and by what I'm seeing on the ratings, or how they grade each season by the fans, it's one of their favorites as well too. And this one's called The Autopsy, directed by David Pryor, starring F. Murray Abraham, Lynn Turman, and Luke Roberts. And this is a story of an older sheriff brings in a friend of his that's a coroner and does the autopsies to help investigate a mining explosion. And we see the elder coroner coming in, struggling a little bit with his luggage, meets the other sheriff, and they sit down and discuss what's been happening. And there were people killed in a mine explosion, which we viewed at the beginning of this episode, where basically this man drops a bomb in the mine that causes the explosion and kills 10 people, but that's all we see. So now it's the discussion between the elder sheriff and the elder coroner on what has happened, and we learned that the coroner himself was just diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. So he doesn't have long to live, and the sheriff asks him if he's up to it, and he says yes. So they discuss how things came about here, and how the sheriff was investigating who could have caused this explosion, and they trace it back to a man that did work at the mine. And it appears he went out to watch a meteor shower on his own in the woods, and came back with a strange round object which looks a lot like the bomb that was dropped in the beginning. And they go through the process of how he tracked this man down back to the mine, and before getting to the mine they search his house and find the round object, and the sheriff takes it with him to the mine. And this guy starts walking out of the mine. They find him, go to arrest him, and he runs right to the police car, somehow knowing this object was in here, busts the window, takes it, runs into the mine, and that's where he sets it loose and causes the explosion that kills the people. So we get to the point in the story where it's time for the coroner to do his work, and he's basically to help investigate what happened. Was it a bomb? Can he find, because they couldn't find any traces of the bomb, and the company itself wants to find a reason not to pay out the insurance policies on all this, so they practically begged him to find a reason before he came down to do this. But they're open-minded. They just want to know what's going on. So we get to an abandoned warehouse where they're storing the bodies, and it's pretty late at night, and the coroner tells the sheriff, go home, get some sleep, I can handle these bodies, I'm only going to get through 2 of them anyway, so come in the morning, and we'll go over and do the rest of them then. So the coroner's left alone in this, and he has his makeshift set up there, which is the table with the lights and a recorder, so he can record his notes during the autopsy. And so he picks his victim from the pictures of the incident and says this guy was likely in the position to have some sort of fragments of the bomb that hit him. So he goes in, gets the guy, and starts his autopsy, and we get to see a full autopsy here. Looked very realistic on the series, and it starts with the wide cut, and he spreads the skin and he clips the rib cage out and exposes the internal organs, and you know, examines the internal organs and weighs them. And as he's doing this, he's making notes to his tape recorder, and doesn't find anything, you know, unusual with this person. So he goes back to the pictures and says, okay, this guy's the next likely, and picks that subject out, and again starts his autopsy again, and finds a hole in the chest of this guy before he starts his autopsy. And he's really a sweet old man, and apologizes to the corpse as he's, you know, performing the wide cuts, and we get to see the full autopsy again. But as with the hole in the chest, we also discovers that the lungs were completely drained of blood, and this is unusual, obviously, you know, whether it was crush asphyxiation or some other ways. There's no reason for the internal organs to be void of blood. And he examines one more body, finds another hole in that body, and again, the internal organs are void of blood, and he's beginning to wonder if maybe the suspect, who he hasn't examined yet, could be part of this, and or the reason for it. And so he decides, you know, he's going to go and do the autopsy of the suspect now. So as he goes in to get this suspect, he hears a noise, and as he goes in to investigate the noise, the suspect is up off the table, in bad shape. You know, he can hardly stand, bones all broken and all that, and has tentacles, we'll say, reaching into the other dead bodies, obviously getting whatever blood he can out of there. So he's starting to reanimate, puts himself back together, starts walking towards the coroner, who is just standing there. I would have ran out at that point, and begins to fill in the backstory of what we didn't know about what happened here. And what it turns out, you know, is that he is a parasite from outer space, came down in the meteor shower in his ship, which is the round object that was the bomb in the beginning, but we now learn is a ship, and infected the person that went out to see the meteor shower. And because he found it, brought it back, and as he was sleeping, he's a parasite, and came out and crawled into his mouth, infected the body, and took over the guy's body. So the first rule, he explains, when the spaceship is found, is to destroy the spaceship. So that's why he went right after the spaceship, somehow knew it was in the sheriff's car, brought it back and exploded it in the mine. And you know, hopefully, you know, unfortunately, you know, this doctor discovered the secret, and now this parasite is ready to move on, because that body is now suspect, you know, so he needs a new host to infect and take over and live out his life. And once we learned it during this series that this alien has powers to control people's mind a little bit, and starts controlling the doctor's mind, so he relaxes and knocks him out. And when we wake up, the doctor is tied to the examination table, had all the clothes cut off of him, and our alien parasite starts explaining, like a true Bond villain, his evil plan is, and you know, which is, again, as in many a Bond film, you don't take time to explain your plan, because you always end up losing in the end. So he explains to the doctor that everything about how they've come to Earth before and have been undetected, and they've taken over people and overthrown governments and brought down governments, and tells him, you know, now I need a new host, and it's going to be you, but I can't go in through your mouth because I've grown so big. I need to go in through an incision. So that's why he has the doctor tied down to the table with surgical tubing. It's rubbery and stretches a little bit, but the doctor tries to get out, can't get out. So our alien proceeds to do an autopsy on himself, and he goes through the full process. You know, cuts off his clothes so it looks good, makes the Y incision, is laying there on the table next to the doctor, and you know, throughout this they're having a discussion on, you know, why you're doing this, you know, why you come here, you know, how do you control the victim, and you know, he tells them how he infects them, and you know, takes over their mind. And he's like, well, you know, my body's not that good, and you know, I have cancer. And the alien's like, no, you're cancer. I'm gonna love your cancer and devour it, and you know, you'll live on. So we get to the point after he's laying there, clipping his own ribs and takes the rib cage out, pulls out his own organs, so everything looks like it's been done. Is we get to the point where he makes an incision in the doctor, and our parasite alien crawls out, which looks like a large squid. Okay, and finally the alien host body that he was in dies, laying on the table. But before he does die, the doctor says, your arrogance will be your downfall. And he asks why, and the doctor says, well, you forgot one thing. And they obviously, he asks what, and the doctor says, oh, never mind, it's not important. So now the doctor's laying there with the incision, and our squid-like alien crawling up to get to the incision, enter his body, and take over his body. And it's like, what do you do? You know, you could live on. I don't know if he would have a consciousness if he let the alien in him, or he tries to destroy the alien and live out the rest of his short life. But knowing he saved humanity, at least in this case, not knowing how many others are out there, and so he decides that he's going to kill the alien. He tries to kill the alien first, and he was able to reach the scalpel still in the dead host's hand, but he can't reach the alien to kill it because of the surgical tubing. So he decides he's going to take his own life. And you know, before he does that, he stabs his neck and writes something on his chest. And then, as the alien is entered inside him, slices his throat. And you know, is in the process of dying just as the alien gets into his body. And we have a nice little visual of the alien looking through the body, and you know, getting to start its takeover. And they have this last conversation, whereas, you know, he's going to die, and the alien realizes this, and the alien's trapped because there's no other host body to go to, and he's telling him how he'll just wait for the sheriff to come in, and he'll be his first victim to get fresh blood. But you know, it's too late. The doctor is dying. The alien's going to die in him, and he tells the alien at the end, you know, the one thing you forgot is that I left my tape recorder on, and it's taped our whole conversation. So not only has the alien is going to die, but he's also let out this secret that the whole world will know. And it was quite a compelling story. And of course, in the end, the alien dies, the sheriff comes in, rolls over the doctor, and he has written on his chest, you know, view the tape and burn my body. So, you know, that would end at least this particular case. And it was very intriguing. I can see why, you know, this was well rated by the viewers, and the acting is fantastic, the visuals are fantastic. It's just sitting there watching them do these autopsies, and then watching the alien do the autopsy on himself was quite mesmerizing. And obviously these are all good episodes that we've seen, but this one is by far the best.